let's try this again. It has been a little while since you have seen me. I have been busy, both with my regular job and also outside of that. My boyfriend and I are in the process of buying our first house, and so there's been a lot of stuff going on in the background for that. And I also took an online art class about illustrating children's books, and so that took up a lot of my time as well. But I am excited to be back today with a new video. So go ahead and sit down, get cozy, grab a drink, and let's get into it. I've had this idea in my head for a long time, and basically what I want to do is redesign book covers. Something that I learned during my art class that I took is that I really enjoy books. I really enjoy designing book covers in addition to illustrating for books. But I have picked two classics today. And if you don't know, I did my undergrad bachelor's degree in English literature, and I read both of these books for those courses, and I want to see if I can make new covers for them. So the first one is Passing by Nella Larson. This is just the copy that I have. This is the copy I had in university. You can see it's got bookmarks and tabs. I did write a paper on this, so I have extensively read this book and I really enjoy it. And then the other book is The Awakening by Kate Chopin. This is another book that I read during my literature classes. It wasn't this copy. I purchased this copy recently, and I do really like this cover, which brings me to my little disclaimer, which is that I am not a professional book designer yet. This is just a creative exercise. There's nothing wrong with these covers. There's nothing wrong with the other covers. This is just a creative exercise for me to test my skills and see what I can come up with. Okay, well, I guess I should explain a little bit about what these two books are about. So Passing Passing was published in 1929 by Nella Larson, and it is about two friends, and they are both African-American women in the 1920s, and basically one of them is able to pass as white and one of them is not, and it's about their friendship and sort of what passing means culturally and how it affects people. Awakening by Kate Chopin is a story that was first published in 1899, and it is about a housewife who is struggling with her identity and depression and her gender roles, and if you've read it, you know, but something happens, and so yeah, it's very good. So that's what those two are about. I'm going to start screen recording, and all right, and welcome to the voiceover portion of this video. I'm just getting right into illustrating. You can see on my canvas that I have a space marked for the spine of the book, and that is because the mock-ups I will be using have a space for a spine design, so I will be including that on both of the illustrations. I didn't talk about my concepts yet, but you can see I'm starting to illustrate a teacup and using the grid to make sure that everything is even, and that is because for Passing, my design or concept I wanted to use is the imagery of a falling teacup. It is a scene in the book towards the end where there's sort of a pivotal moment that happens, and someone drops a teacup and it shatters, and so I thought that the imagery of a teacup falling and the tea kind of swooshing up would be a good action kind of image to draw the reader in, and so I'm just making this teacup look perfect. I did use reference for what should have been historically accurate looking teacups for the 1920s, but this teacup in the book is referenced as being old and ugly. So I went with that. And so here I put the teacup at an angle, and I'm starting to figure out how I want to draw the tea that is coming out of it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the lasso tool or fully paint it. And I was using reference for this, but liquid is really hard to draw, especially falling liquid. And so I ended up doing a combination of lasso and paint. I wanted to use watercolor textures to sort of make it look like a collage, but also still somewhat resemble liquid falling from a teacup. And for some reason, liquid looks stringy when it's falling and not like just a wall of liquid. But I think that it turned out okay. And here I'm getting started on the design of the teacup because I didn't want it to just be a plain teacup. I wanted to have a little nod to the final scene of the book where I won't say what happens, but there are some red and gold motifs, some color theory there. And so I wanted to include a little bit of red and gold in the design of the teacup, and make it just look a little bit more historically accurate. Little gold leaf on the rim, little gold leaf flowers, make it look a little bit more appropriate. And still futzing with that tea. I was still trying to figure it out. And the goal wasn't to make this look photorealistic. I really wanted it to look like an illustration, but I still wanted it to feel accurate enough that it didn't pull the viewer out of it when they were looking at it. So I'm just fixing up the tea, some edges, making sure everything looks good. I like the texture of the tea, making sure everything is aligned correctly. Oh, and now I'm adding some highlights. Oh, maybe not. Oh, I'm fixing the edge of the gold. There we go. I know that the highlights are coming soon, and I really liked how these turned out. So there you go. You can see there's a little gold highlight. Fixing some of the tea color. Fixing a little bit of the edges so it looks less crisp and like I used the lasso tool. Playing with some adjustment layers. Oh, adding some shadow to the teacup. Important. And here we have the fun part, the adding of the text. I really wanted some sort of like handwriting, so I'm using a font to kind of use as a guideline so that my spacing is correct when I'm drawing it. And I go through several different pen options to try and find the best one for me. And spoiler, this is not even the final choice. Practicing my handwriting, proving that I can write. I did like how this one turned out, but I don't think that it was impactful enough. It was kind of hard to read. I did choose to make the background a little bit more muted to sort of match the tone of the book. And I do like how the author's name turned out. The author section here fit together quite nicely. I do think that maybe this is the font that they used for Twilight. Something about it reminds me of that. I'm just laying everything out. And I'm going to add some like white dust sparkle things in the back just to give it a little bit more interest. Oh, and then I went back in and added some stuff. I changed the writing, so I changed it to a font instead of handwriting, and then I added some texture to the T, so it looked a little bit more artsy. So there's the ending and the mock-up and the final design. Okay, and here we are for the awakening now. This one, I wanted an action moment to kind of draw the viewer in, of course. And so what I wanted to do is that the final scene of the book, the main character Edna is on the beach and she's looking out at the water. She's contemplating her life, and she sees a bird, a shorebird, with a broken wing circling the sky. This book is set in Louisiana, and so she's looking out over the Gulf of Mexico, and she sees this bird, and it's sort of a metaphor of how she feels trapped in her life of housework, etc. But so I wanted to illustrate a bird, sort of the moment it takes flight, touching the water with one of its feet, and the ripples that it creates, because this book is all about, ripples. No. But I did look up reference for this bird. I did research what birds it might have possibly been, like what sort of shorebirds they have in Louisiana. There isn't one specifically named in the book. It just is mentioned as a shorebird. So I picked a tern, which is a pretty black and white and orange accent sort of shaped bird. And I wanted it to be on a dark blue background. I was thinking navy originally. I end up with something a little bit more like royal blue, but I'm just working on that bird, getting it to look accurate. Again, I'm not going for scientific perfection here with my illustration style, but I want it to be identifiable, and if someone from Louisiana looks at it and might be like, oh, that's a bird I recognize. I'm just giving it some more detail. Again, it's a very striking bird, gray and black, and it's got this cool spiked tail. It's got its little feet touching the water. Yeah, it's a very cool bird. So I'm just making sure everything is good there. I'm always struggling with the over rendering fear of, if I paint every single feather, it will not look as impactful as maybe just the hint of some feathers. So I'm trying to tread that line very carefully here. And yeah, same with the feet. If you overdo the feet, they'll look really scary. And then I start in on the ripples, and I don't know what I was thinking, because I ended up hating these. For some reason, once I started working on it, like, what I had in my head was not the same as what came out on the page, and once I added text into it, it really looked like a thriller book or something, some sort of maybe sci-fi, or maybe it was a book about birds and less of a woman's journey, and something about the stretched text that I did. I liked it, but also it felt a little bit too much like Emily Henry font, and that was not what I was going for. So I decide to actually go back, and one of the things is I really wanted, you can see me trying it here, I really wanted the lines of the ripples to go through the text and be a different color to give it sort of that like trippy feeling, and also get some more of that pink in there, because pink is a strong color used in the book. So I went back and I changed everything. I decided to go for a more painterly style for the ripples. Give it a little bit more like watercolor, a little bit more depth, and kind of bump up the saturation, and give it a little bit more cool colors. Make it a little bit more vibrant instead of these muted kind of blue-gray tones, which are still there in the final product, but not as dismal. And I do decide to change the font. That is, I think, one of the most impactful things. I still am really pleased with the spine sort of motif, the spine icon of the bird in pink. But yeah, still just messing with those ripples, and I decide to change the font, and I end up duplicating the layer of the ripples and laying it over the text to sort of get a textured font. It definitely wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I was conceptualizing this. I think I'd probably still have to mess around with it and maybe even go traditional for part of it and, do something a little more hands-on. But I also was having a really hard time deciding on a font after I decided I hated this other one. So I like where I ended up, but boy, was it a journey to get there. So let me know your final thoughts and what you think of the final design. Okay, that brings us to the end of this video. Please let me know what you thought of my cover designs, and if you have any recommendations for covers that I should do, please leave them in the comments below. I had a lot of fun coming up with these ideas and doing the drawings and the text layout and everything, so yeah, I definitely want to make more of these, and maybe even modern books. I don't know. We shall see. But until then, thank you for watching. It means a lot to me. If you want to see more of my artwork and things that I've been up to, you can follow me on Instagram at @BeCozyArtist. If you like this longer form video content, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I hope to see you soon in another video. I'm hoping that once we move, then there will be more videos of setting up my new office and studio, and also the books, because I don't think I'll have space in the studio to put the books, so there will be some stuff to figure out once we move. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!